Jonathan Gannon is fully confident that he's going to return in 2026 as the head coach of the Arizona Cardinals. What does that mean? Let's discuss.
You are Locked On Cardinals, your daily Arizona Cardinals podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Clancy, Locked On Cardinals host, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Now the number one sports podcast network. I'm back home. You can see the red and black, which will be upgraded soon. It'll be upgraded probably tomorrow to even more red and the same black. Even more red and the same black. For those that are listening, disregard. Jonathan Gannon went on a local radio show yesterday and said he fully expects to be the Arizona Cardinals head coach in 2026. Before everybody freaks out, let's just talk about all the angles. Okay, first off, to finish the show, is it the right move? Is it the right move? The people would say no. I've said it's time to move off from him, but I would understand why they'd bring him back, even though it doesn't rationally make sense. Is it the right move? Final segment. What needs to happen to solidify a return? What needs to happen for that to be a move that's palatable? I'll discuss that in the second segment. But the fact that Jonathan Gannon is confident that he's going to return, he said it on a local radio show, it can be taken a couple different ways. Okay, so theater of the mind is a lot of what narratives are. And when it comes from the head coach of an organization that, brought you, Josh is our quarterback, and then they draft Kyler Murray. To everything that happened with Michael Bidwell plus Steve Keim for years of just false leaks and thinking that they're smarter than everybody else and all this stuff. Is this just another variant of that? Because what Jonathan Gannon has done pretty much since becoming head coach of the Arizona Cardinals is have a unified front for everybody who works around him and quote unquote under him, like coordinators and other position coaches and stuff like that. Players, everything. He's had a unified front and he's like, I'm standing in front of you. I'm standing in front of you. I will defend you. I will always put positive spins on things, even if it's not the best position to be in. He's done it. So he's doing it for himself, not selfishly, but he's doing the unified front defense for himself. I fully expect to be back in 2026. Nothing's wrong. Everything can be fixed. And I promise we will rise in the valley. Okay. So that's one, which would be on brand. And listen, say what you want about his win-loss record, which isn't good. Say what you want about his situational coaching isn't great, or hasn't been great at times. Say what you want about his blind defense of both of his coordinators. Say what you want. That's not what this is about. Specifically right now. This is about him not wanting to put any more attention on himself when there's football games still to be played. What he's done, even though it's been a slog this year, even though they've been maybe the embarrassment and the most underwhelming team in the NFL that's directly tied to expectation before the season started, he's done it with grace. Okay? So before getting flamed here, head coaches can handle things a bunch of different ways, especially when everything is going wrong. Amid all the dysfunction in between the lines, Jonathan Gannon has been an adult. Jonathan Gannon has taken it on the chin. Jonathan Gannon has defended his guys. Does he believe everything that he says when he's defending his guys? Probably not. But that doesn't matter. The biggest thing you can do to piss people off is not give them an overt reason to be pissed off at you. Sure, the coaching has been underwhelming. Of course, we're watching the same games, okay? But you're just waiting for him to lash out. Hasn't done it. He knows what's happening. He knows how bad they're playing. He knows that they haven't been able to adjust. He knows all these things. But to be able to handle it with grace is something that not all coaches, not all head coaches can do. So irrespective of outcome, what Jonathan Gannon has portrayed this year while being under much, while being under fire that he deserves, he's done it with a calm beat. And I think regardless of if he comes back or not, this is the best case of a bad case scenario. He changed the culture of the organization. They're losing still. Maybe he's not cut out to be the Arizona Cardinals head coach. And the records would indicate that he's not. Culture is different. We've talked about this ad nauseum. What he's done has been an adult and hasn't cracked when being asked the same questions because they're rightly asked. Why haven't things changed? Why are things still the way they are? Why is all this happening? He's answered the questions. He's taken it. And here we are. Not fantastic with the outcomes, but him saying, I fully expect to be back in 2026, that would lend to being on par with what he's done ever since he's taken over. Not about me. Well, it's about me. I'm taking the brunt, all of it, but we're not going to do the clickbaity thing ever. And he hasn't. I fully expect to be back in 2026. Maybe the most controversial thing he's said or done since taking over at the end of the 2022 season. Like the other side. Michael Bidwell said, you're coming back. And nothing's going to change that because of the injuries. So if there's one reason or excuse as to why Jonathan Gannon will be back in 2026, it's the injuries. That's the one. Okay? We're going to talk in the next segment about what needs to happen if that's the case for this ship to not fracture snap 1 of 2026, week 1. But that's it. That's the other one. Michael Bidwell said, you're coming back. Don't worry about it. You're coming back. Those are the only two options. And it's interesting because I'm sure at some point, week 12, week 11, week 12, week 13, Michael Bidwell said, oh, no, you're good. I mean, I don't know if there's an expiration date on that. We have no idea what goes on between those, inside those walls when push comes to shove. But there's two things that could have birthed Jonathan Gannon saying, I'm fully expecting to be back in 2026 on a local radio show. 1, unified front, no clickbait, get out of this interview. 2, Michael Bidwell told him. I guess we'll find out. Say he does come back, okay? Say he does come back. What needs to happen to solidify the future to where he's not going to be 3-4 weeks out? Should have fired him in the offseason. What needs to happen? I'll discuss it. And there are a couple very, very important concrete things that can happen to cocoon him a little bit more than he has been over the first 3 years. So discuss it next. Locked On Cardinals, your team every day. This episode of Locked On Cardinals is brought to you by Gusto. Let's be real. No one starts a business for the joy of calculating tax withholdings or managing payroll spreadsheets, and that's where Gusto comes in. It takes the stress out of payroll, benefits, and HR so you can focus on running your business and supporting your team. Gusto is an all-in-one remote-friendly payroll and HR. It's a total platform that makes managing your team simple, transparent, and fast. Whether you're hiring, onboarding, or paying employees, Gusto helps you do it all from one place without the hassle or hidden fees. Unlimited payroll runs, one monthly price, which means no surprise charges at the end of the month. And knowing you can reach certified HR experts anytime gives you real peace of mind. Try Gusto today at gusto.com/LockedOnNFL and get 3 months free when you run your first payroll. That's right. 3 months of free payroll at gusto.com/LockedOnNFL. One more time. That's gusto.com/LockedOnNFL. Please go to the dang YouTube channel, search Locked On Arizona Cardinals. Hit that subscribe button, man. Turn notifications on. Big thumb face all offseason. Everydayers Club. If you haven't already, go check out the new Everydayers Club. Ad-free audio feeds for Locked On Cardinals, compatible with Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you listen to your podcast. Invite only or members only. Locked On Everydayers Club Discord server, which includes a group chat for listeners of this show. And I'm already in there, so come in, say hi. Link is in the description. Check it out. We're expanding things more and more this offseason. The Everydayers Club here on Locked On Cardinals. What needs to happen to solidify the future? Say Jonathan Gannon comes back. Whether you agree, whether you disagree, regardless of that right now, say there's a world he's coming back, okay? The offseason's over. Black Monday's over. He's coming back. What needs to happen to solidify 2026? There's a couple things. One, first and foremost, I would assume, now I don't know, I would assume that they're going to move off from both coordinators. Okay, I would assume that. One wrinkle to that, if there's one that they would pick to come back, maybe sign a 2-year deal or something like that, even a 1-year deal. I don't like, I'm not privy to coordinator. It could be a 1-year deal. Don't know. I would think it would be Nick Rallis. And that seems Looney Tunes banana sandwich because they've given up a 40 burger 4 times since the bye week, or almost. It's like, why would you bring him back? Why are you bringing Jonathan Gannon back? Well, most of the season, you know, they haven't been injured on defense. That's not true. There's been one main player out ever since week 2, pretty much, outside of, I believe, the Dallas game. Mack Wilson's been out. Mack Wilson's a huge miss here, guys, with him on the field, with him not on the field. So I would assume if there's one of the two, and we could talk about that during the offseason, if they don't get, you know, if there's not word that there won't be returning beforehand. But if Jonathan Gannon comes back, what needs to happen to solidify? Say they do bring Nick Rallis back. You need an old head OC. Not an old head in thought, an old head in experience. An old head who probably was a former head coach. Brian Daboll, somebody like that. You bring him in. Mike McDaniel, I don't know. You bring in an offensive mind who's been through the turmoil of being a head coach. They didn't have that with Jonathan Gannon when he first came in. Well, he picked his own staff. Well, you should have made him not pick his own staff. We're past that. It doesn't matter at this point. First step in Jonathan Gannon potentially succeeding in 2026 is bringing in, if not one, seasoned vet OC who may have been head coaches, may have been Steve Spagnuolo, whatever. And I think Spags was a head coach for 10 minutes. But, like, you bring in a guy who's done it before. And then if you don't bring Nick Rallis back, which I could understand at this point, you bring in 2 old heads, 2 guys who have been through it. 2 guys you would hope who have been head coaches and have their respective sides of the ball locked in, where Jonathan Gannon can truly be the CEO head coach that he was brought in to be. Yes, he has a defensive scheme that Nick Rallis runs. Nick Rallis isn't like a puppet for Jonathan Gannon's defense. That's Nick Rallis' defense. Why do you bring him back? They give 40 points a game multiple times. I get it. I'm on your side here. I understand, but it's my job to give all sides to a story, to give all sides and possibilities to a situation, because if there's anything we know about this organization, we know that anything could happen at any point. Good, bad, indifferent, mostly bad, but sometimes good, indifferent, doesn't matter. It could happen. So I would be doing you a disservice if we didn't discuss all of it. So now we're discussing all of it. What needs to happen to solidify the future? Ironclad coordinators. If you want to run it back with Nick Rallis and you say, well, Garrett Williams was out, he was on IR. Walter Nolan missed the first 2 months. Mack Wilson's now on IR. Will Johnson has been in and out of the lineup. Budda Baker is now out. David Taylor Demerson's been in and out of the lineup. You know, we can have that conversation. It could be a quick one. I just don't see a world where Drew Petzing comes back now. And I'm not like late to the party. I know that was always like the leader in the clubhouse, but there's always a chance that the final golfer on the golf course could hole out 2 holes in a row and go eagle and win. Like, you know, it happens. It's happened. It doesn't happen often. First thing, coordinators. First and foremost. And if Jeff Rodgers goes too, because of I think they're 14th in special teams, which isn't terrible. It's looked worse than I guess it is numbers wise, but yeah, that's one. Number 2, obviously, you need to figure out the quarterback situation. Have a plan to where Jonathan Gannon, so it's, you got to have a plan. What that is, it's easy to say, oh, just go trade for one. Okay, I'm not going to do that. Let's just say they need to have a plan. And a plan that's not sustained in 17 weeks, and then you have to scrap that plan and do another one. The tricky part about bringing Jonathan Gannon back is he's got 2 years left on his deal. The last thing you want to do is start a season and then fire him 6 or 7 weeks in. That is the thing you need to avoid here. So if he's coming back, he's coming back. I'm not saying extend him because they won't, obviously. Play out his contract, do it year by year, whatever it is. But they've got to have a plan at quarterback that supersedes the lifespan of Jonathan Gannon as head coach. Like, you've got to expect and have a contingency plan for Jonathan Gannon not coming back post 2026. Well, why bring him back to begin with? It's a valid question. But you've got to have a plan at quarterback that is 5 or 7 year plans. And it's not, what is it, not die? Like, you can't Big Daddy this. You've got to have a plan. And whether that includes Monty Ossenfort or not, that's good. You got to have a plan. The Cardinals had a plan. The plan worked. It just didn't work. Hashtag analysis. What they did this offseason was everything you're supposed to do in an effort to win football games, and they just didn't win any football games. So you got to have a plan at quarterback. What that is, a lot easier said than done. Especially because now the Cardinals are mathematically ineligible from getting the number 1 overall pick because of their strength of schedule. Not just, it would have been a long shot anyways. So many different things had to happen. But even if the Raiders win, the Cardinals still don't have the tiebreaker against them. Coordinators, quarterback. And then this is the trickiest part. Having a plan for him. Having expectations that need to be met, and if they're not, he will no longer be retained. Easier said than done. Of course, playoffs or bust, I guess. I guess so. Well, that's what the plans were supposed to be this year. So why is he coming back? Valid question. I wasn't planning on doing this show, but after that phone interview that he had with the local radio station, I had to. What does it look like if he comes back? What needs to happen to solidify his future? Coordinators, figure out the quarterback, and then have a bang-up offseason again, focusing on the offensive line and filling the holes because they have money, they've got picks, okay? This team is going to be young and scary on paper, and they've got to have a situation at the coaching staff to where that's not going to be the reason why the Cardinals don't win games. And we have that conversation right now. But I think it's a combination of all of it. I think it's the blame pie is pretty much split. Players aren't playing, coaches aren't coaching. That's terrible because you can't identify what needs to change. But Jonathan Gannon, if he does come back, needs a massive level up in coordinator support, experience in the NFL, in tow with that. A solid quarterback plan. That's not necessarily for Jonathan Gannon. That's for the organizations to solidify that. And then have an offseason that mirrors last offseason, maybe peppering in some talent on offense. Locked On Cardinals, your team every day. Is it the right move to bring Jonathan Gannon back? This is where the opinion kind of comes in. I'll talk about both sides next. This episode of Locked On Cardinals is brought to you by Prize Picks. Whether you're starting a new routine or jumping into your player projections for the first time, trying something new can feel like a challenge. But with Prize Picks, it always feels good to be right. And with high-pressure football matchups every weekend and elite hoops action almost every night, the action never slows down. And Prize Picks lets you stay in control. Prize Picks is a daily fantasy app that makes watching sports even more exciting by letting you build lineups based on player projections. No drafts, no waiting, just pick more or less and you're on your way. Getting started with Prize Picks is super and easy. The app is super easy to use. It's super clean. It's got a sexy layout. New early payouts. It's a game changer. If a player starts hot, you can cash out before the game even ends. Download the Prize Picks app today. Use code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. It's good to be right. Hope everybody had a great Christmas season with their family. We got New Year's Eve right around the corner. Everybody does some great things. Hug your loved ones. And thanks for supporting the show, even during Christmas and stuff. Much appreciated. Is it the right move to bring Jonathan Gannon back? I don't know. That's what you come here for. I don't know. I have no idea. Probably not. Like, I understand when people are split. Record, fire him. I get it. It's the most rational thing ever in sports. Oh, you're not producing, you're fired. Of course. Did you change the culture? Yeah. Was it good on the field? Not a lot. Okay, out. Other side, injuries, reason. Okay, it's an excuse for sure. It is a loser mentality to have excuses that are based on injury. I've said that for 15 years in this space. And then everybody got hurt this year. So it's like, well, I mean, come on. It's like, no, I'm not giving you a raise. No, I'm not giving you a raise. No, I'm not giving you a raise. Well, I'm in the 0.1% of the entire company for the last 2 years. Well, guess I got to give you a raise. Everybody got hurt. So it's not an excuse. When an excuse pivots into a reason, it's difficult to stomach because excuses are they've got such a negative connotation on them, and rightfully so. I never blame refs, never blame injuries on anything. Figure it out. This was, I don't know. But do I think it's the right move for the team to have Jonathan Gannon back next year? If they were to do those things that I mentioned in the last segment, it could be worse. I don't know how much, but it could be worse. I'm not scared about starting fresh with all the new head coach, new coordinators. I'm not scared about that. I do think that what allows this to even be a conversation is the quarterback class this year. I don't see them drafting a quarterback. I don't think they should. I know there's a bunch of different outlets like, oh, this is how you trade up and you should do that. I'm like, you're never going to hear me say that. I'm not going to say that. I will watch even more film on the two guys, but it's what bad teams do. Force the issue in a situation that shouldn't be forced. So you bring Jonathan Gannon back. You hopefully have a healthy roster. Figure out if it's Jacoby Brissett or if you trade for Mac Jones or, you do whatever you do. And then you go. If this was next year's, if this was 2 years from now, 2027's class, I would fire Jonathan Gannon and not think about it again. So why bring him back this year? I don't know. This is complex, even though it shouldn't be. He should be fired. He should not be retained. He should not be an Arizona Cardinals head coach anymore. I'm only going to say it 3 different ways. I agree with you if that's what you believe. I don't think there's really any contingent that's like, oh, bring him back. So why bring him back? It's a valid question. The entire team was injured this year. That is a valid reason why a coach gets a reprieve. Well, what about the last 2 years? Valid question. Extremely valid, rational question. The most rational and most valid of questions. But it's not this year. It's this year. And regardless if you like Kyler Murray or Jacoby Brissett, whatever it is, doesn't matter. The offense is pretty much the same. I think it was a little weaker with Brissett. You can blame that on no run game, whatever it is. I don't care. It doesn't it's not part of the plot anymore. It will be again, but it's not right now. We're watching this team limp to the finish line in the most embarrassing of ways. The head coach just said he 100% believes. He's confident that he'll be back in 2026. Is that him being the front man that he's been? Is it a personal nudge from Michael Bidwell saying, no, you're not going anywhere? Can make an argument for both. Why he said it, I mean. There's a path to it being better with him if he comes back next year that I discussed last segment. Is it the right move? I'd still lend to no. Could you say excuses are the reason why he's coming back? And if that's the reason why he's coming back, that is the strongest argument for bringing him back outside of actually winning. Like if you're going to fire him or not, because the entire team is hurt. Yeah. Is it an excuse? 100%. Are excuses good enough to be reasons to bring back a head coach for another year, putting things in even more jeopardy? I don't know. What I do know is this is a bad situation that is going to get better soon because it can't get any worse. I guess there's power in that. Locked On Cardinals, your team every day. Remember, without you, there is nothing. I'll talk to you tomorrow.